Today's episode is brought to you by Polar Monkey's Cold Plunges. I often find myself deep diving into techniques, tools, and products that elevate our daily rituals, optimize performance, and enhance our well-being. Let's talk cold immersion for a moment. Polar Monkeys is at the forefront of emerging style with functionality. When I say they create the coolest designs, I'm not referring to temperature. Polar Monkey's Cold Plunge are also art pieces. But it's not just about looking good. It's about quality products at a fair price. But it's not just about looking good. We're the same line. In a market that can sometimes seem prohibitive cost-wise, Polar Monkeys stands out with its commitment to fair prices and quality. If you haven't yet experimented with the benefits of cold immersion, from boosting mood, mental clarity, focus, to better sleep and recovery, now might be the time.
For listeners of our podcast, Polar Monkeys is extending an exclusive offer. Head over to their website, polarmonkeys.com, and use the code KOA and Nate for a special $100 off your order. So deep dive, refresh, rejuvenate, and make a statement while you're at it. Thanks to Polar Monkeys Cold Plunge. A big shout out to them for supporting the podcast and, of course, for making cold plunges not just a ritual, but a statement of style and accessibility.
Okay, we're back. Podcast is back on. Winter is just full force here in Hawaii. Eli back on the pod, our regular host here, Koa, and we're just coming off pretty epic swell bender. We had big outer reefs, big pipe, actually a few days of big pipe, but I guess we'll just start with our first big outer reef of the season, what we had, and it was very strange. We haven't shot one since, but
plenty of action to catch up.
Yeah, we got a lot to catch up on.
Basically, to give context to what this outer reef and what made it kind of strange or special or whatever was just nobody expected this swell to be anything crazy. I mean, when it originally popped up on the forecast, it was like we were all like, hey, Jaws might run. Like, it looked really good for Jaws. 25 foot glassy barrels. And we are all three in the Jaws event. And strangely, they called that event off like a week out, but ended up being okay because the forecast did get funky for that. But no one could have foreseen that coming as what the forecast did, which is by time the day, 24 hours out, we were all like, oh, this might be pipe. Like, it's like nothing looks huge.
I thought too big, like that in between, like little too big for pipe.
In between, not big enough to maybe go to Maui, but we were kind of stressing on it. Mm-hmm. And we're like, let's just see what happens. Let's see what the buoys do when they hit, because we can watch them from about 6 hours out. The first buoys hit as far as the swell coming, and we kind of have a rough idea of what it'll be like 6 hours from then. The buoys start to hit, and they just do not stop climbing up until we were texting each other, talking about going to Jaws at like 8 or 7. We had a flight at like 9, and we were like, what do we do? Buoys start hitting, 20? It hit 26 feet at 19 seconds was the top.
26.19.
26.19.
Those were like pretty much close to Eddie.
Yeah,
Eddie
what was that when you guys last surfed the Eddie?
I want to say it was 27 at 21 or something.
27, 19, 27, 20.
It might have hit 22 seconds as well.
Yeah, that was huge.
What we're talking about is like 27 at 19 would be 27 feet at 19 seconds. Are these buoys way like in the middle of the ocean outside of Hawaii? So we can use those readings to see how big it's actually going to be here. And when the buoys hit that number, like those levels, like in the 20s, it's going to be huge.
Yeah.
And as soon as those hit, we're like, oh, Jaws is going to be a tow swell.
Yep.
And then there was wind on the buoy as well, which made it like, Jaws is way out of the question.
The last Jaws event that we all surfed was 1919. Wow. So when we saw those numbers, I was like, oh, it's going to be gigantic.
Yeah.
I was like,
huge.
This is going to be
Was that the event they called off?
No, the one they ran that we all surfed.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's crazy because Jaws is just this swell magnet. Mm-hmm. It really just needs like some solid size swell, like even an outer reef pipe day. Like we could be out at pipe.
And Jaws is flexing, yeah.
And Jaws is flexing, but you really just need the winds to cooperate. Because anything you see on the forecast for Jaws, it's like, say it's calling 15 knot trade winds. you get there and it's like at least 30 knots.
It's
You
like-
have to double it.
The wave, the way that it's out there and it's pretty exposed, but I swear because the wave's standing up and coming in, all the wind just accelerates up the face.
Yeah, and there's the valley right there, right?
Yeah.
Just coming straight out of the valley.
I feel like wind and size, you can always just add
Yes.
a solid amount, like 15 foot on Oahu, like little too big for pipe. I think for sure 20 foot jaws. And then like,
Yeah.
Yep.
and then like light winds, maybe a tiny bit breezy, nuking winds over
Yep.
there. So it's like, it's just I think it's just a different beast over there.
It is fully. But we had a super, super sick session here at some outer reef we went to. And I remember, how was your first wave, Eli?
I was trying to set the bar for the game. I was like, here I go.
Eli had a brand new boil. I'm telling the story of that, but it
Yeah.
was pretty sick.
We all ride Paizel's guns, and I had a 9.8. And I was
These
so
boards aren't
excited.
easy to get your hands on either. Like, he takes a long time making them. He's got a big, like, long list of people waiting.
Yeah. And I actually ride for DHD, so like the guns is like an exception, but I don't get like a ton. So I was like, these are like my babies. So I was just like so psyched on this thing. It had like just a little bit thinner rail than normal, and like the tail was a swallowtail, and I still went quad. I was almost gonna try your thruster setup.
I
but
wish you would have.
I have one coming. I'm gonna try.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
Psyching.
backside too, thruster.
Yes.
I think could have been the
Sick.
difference from me disconnect.
I don't know.
I was probably
that was a big
regardless.
disconnection.
I was just so committed. Like, it reminded me of Chopes when a big West Bowl throws, when you're like focusing on
Yeah.
what's coming instead of really focusing on just making the drop. And
Yeah.
that's something we've all worked on like for years, like especially as teenagers when we started pushing it. Mm-hmm. And I got so pounded, but I was laughing at myself. I was like, you just went back in time where you're like a little too
Fully.
excited, and it was just like I just wanted to get barreled. I had this like vision in my head for like days leading up to that swell, especially since your guys' last really good Hemi swell,
A couple years ago.
I've been wanting to have a go at that
Just
since.
big waves are in so much, like our seasons, each season, the level changes so high that you think like, oh my God, like what we did during this session a few years ago and what we would do now, or where we would sit, or we're all together all of a sudden so we can sit somewhere where we're all going to push off each other or like position better and differently.
Yeah.
I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, oh my God, if it's doing that thing, like we
know.
are potentially going to do some like really crazy stuff.
Yeah,
Like
and
you
we
just
had
know
all
when
of
you
us.
have, the friend group together,
Yeah.
it creates that kind of session. But right when we got out there, I mean, it
Yeah.
was sheet glass and big blue barrels. Like the swell was still flexing. I wouldn't say it was on par with like what you guys had in that Maps of Home edit, but like
Yeah.
that just is like seems like it's a whole nother ledge. But we're looking at 20-foot blue barrels.
Oh yeah.
In the beginning.
I actually watched Maps of Home that morning, 5 a.m. drinking coffee, just power
a
psyching.
good idea.
That's why I was like, I'm gonna backdoor a huge one, and I just went and first wave. You guys are like, go. I was like, okay. Just tail to the beach.
We could have a
Ate
clip
shit.
on here.
Yeah.
Eli's brand new board just broke it.
Oh, folded it.
Did you get to feel how it was at all? Or you just felt it in the air?
It paddled good, but all of a sudden I was grabbing
Oh,
the
you know
rail.
what's funny about that wave too? I was in a really good spot for it.
I just blacked out. I didn't
Eli
even
saw
remember.
me look at it like he was.
Oh, you
I
were
was gonna
you
go
were
there.
right next to me. Yeah,
I was
that's
on.
right.
You, so like,
I was
wave-
in the lip.
The wave peaked like this, like a giant A-frame,
Yeah.
and you're at the pinnacle, like
Yeah.
as steep as the wave could be, and I was just on the side of it, like perfect chip in, like not even a hard drop, and Eli was just
Head
saw
down.
me and
I
just
was
went
like,
head
Head
down,
down,
going.
blinders
It's
on.
like,
There's 3 of us out.
I'm like, oh, I see you, bro.
I was too excited.
no,
We
that
should have
was
just
sick,
party
man.
waved it.
That's the thing with like what's hilarious with us trying to like dial in our surfboards, our big boards, is we both paddle out on brand new boards that we've never tried anywhere before.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, we're gonna test it when it's 25-foot slabbing barrels. That's the only way. Like
Can't test it any other way.
you can't go like guys go out to Sunset and they're like, I'm gonna feel it out, but
Yeah.
you're just not feeling it because the speed and the speed of the wave and the size of it, it's nowhere near what it's gonna feel like on the
Yeah.
bigger wave. Like
I think that's why it's so important that we put so much trust into like Paizel and our shapers because like we really trust them with our lives. We're just like, make us something that we're gonna survive on. And then even the last Jaws event, I waxed up a 10-0 that morning, brand new, and I was just like, this thing feels good.
That's the one you got that wave on?
Yeah,
Wow, that wave was crazy.
brand new 10-0.
Is that
Swell
the wave
tail.
you won the biggest paddle, right?
Me and Nate battled. We were first in, or we were like neck and neck, and I was like, oh, we could flip a coin for sure.
Both from that event.
Both in heats. Yeah, that day was so good.
That was a really good
I
Jaws day.
I haven't ever seen it that clean and that size ever again
No.
since that day.
So
That's
what
so rare.
that is like, what is it? DHD just, he's just like, hey, I'll let Paizel do the gun thing because it's not like my specialty.
I think like his short boards and step ups are like the best boards I've ever ridden in my life. And we experimented a tiny bit, but it's hard because he's in Australia and I'm out here. So he's actually coming soon, and we're going to actually put an effort to try and like
He wants to take a look at some guns and
and I think like I'm going to kind of be his guy to try and give feedback and push whatever like 2 cents I have with his skills and like
For
try
guns?
and and
Big guns?
try and make like that, find that.
That's a scary
Balance.
test dummy to be.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's scary.
Because remember how, like, a long time ago, before Paizel made the Padillac, remember all the bigger boards we'd ride before that? They felt like they were going backwards.
Bananas.
Like, down the face, like you're forcing it to go forward.
Do you remember our first Jaws session, what I was on? A 10-4 cork board.
Oh, my God. Remember
With a nose like a fucking wang like this, dude.
Like a thumb.
Your choke sessions.
Next level, man.
Nate was riding cork surfboards.
They were-
Surfboards made from cork.
Cork and bamboo.
You could
on
have put the fins on either side of those things. Like they were so bad.
That was so
wonder-
crazy.
Jeez.
I wonder where you would have been if you were on.
I'll
on
never
boards
forget.
all the
Like I
time.
was riding those cork boards and I was like, this is just how it is. Like I'm in the learning curve. Like this is difficult. I'm taking some crazy drops, like spinning 180s and like trying to pull it back.
Chope's tail to beach.
Tail
I'll
to
never
beach.
forget just being like, oh my God.
Multiple times.
Yeah.
A couple though you made that were like actually super crazy
Really
because of
super
the
wild.
maneuvers you were doing inside of the barrel.
Yeah.
Accidentally.
Yeah, I totally like the type where like it didn't need to be that dramatic, but
No.
it was because the board was like squirreling
It put you
out.
deeper. You're like squirreling and stalling by accident.
Yeah, and John's just like one time he's like, dude, just please try this next step of mine from Paizel 6'6". Go out. There was like 2 guys out at pipe.
Yeah.
Went out, and my first wave was like the best wave I'd ridden at pipe.
I think
at
I
the time.
remember that actually.
I won steep and deep on it when they used to have that event,
Okay.
I remember.
and I was like, I'm never going back.
You're like, Paizel, I'm going to need a couple of these.
It was the same thing though. I was riding stretch boards, and I just at the time wasn't like, he was in Santa Cruz and he was shaping a lot for like Nathan Fletcher, who's super particular in what he likes to ride. Like he just surfs differently.
Yeah.
And he was like forging his own path, and he was really the one to like, let's try quads and let's try different shapes and different stuff. Like he was pushing the limits on boards at that time. I feel like at Mavs and like all those big waves, like he took us to Mavs for our first time.
Yeah.
But he just surfs a certain way, and I was like, it was the same thing. I couldn't work on the things I wanted to work on, or I just didn't even know to work on them. You know, when you're a Grom and you're just like, I'll just ride what you give me.
Yeah.
I'm like,
And then,
it feels good.
yeah, Paizel started. And that was that way with Paizel when I switched for a long time. I'll just ride what you give me. It took me a long time to be like, you know what? Like, maybe I need something specific for the way I surf. Like, it's not just like what that guy's surfing will be good for me too. Like, it took me a long time to try to even think about dialing in and saying, well, actually, I think I need to change this. And it took Paizel a long time to listen to us.
Yeah.
He still doesn't listen.
He still doesn't listen.
I'm like, hey, I texted the other day. I'm like, hey, can I order some boards? He's like, wait, who is this? I'm like, it's God.
Wow.
It's so funny, man.
I remember being like, also like, I didn't want to seem somehow ungrateful in any way. So I was just like, it's great.
Yeah.
And then it took me a while to finally be like, you think we could work on this tail a little bit, or you think we could change like the rocker, or like any little thing? I was just like, I was too shy to like give my
You
feedback.
just anything you got, you're like, it's killer.
I was
Thank
like,
you so much.
Yeah, I was like, this is the best board I ever had in my life. Yeah, I was like,
stoked to have a surfboard.
so stoked. Yeah, it's been like one of the It's been one of the best sponsors could have ever had.
Yeah, you've been sponsored by him for a pretty long time now.
Almost 10 years.
But longer than I've been sponsored by Pizel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I see this question pop up a ton on how we organize our safety, and I feel like this swell was a really good example of how we do that with how we hire skis. And yes, we do pay for them. If
Did
one
you
of
pay
you
Mikey?
guys wants to.
No.
You never Venmoed him?
Yeah, I paid him.
Did you pay me?
I requested you. Venmo request.
$1 a day for
You
however
owe
many
me
days.
$30. I requested
Yeah.
60.
It is pretty crazy though. Like I was just talking to someone the day before our big day. I think it might have been, I was my girlfriend's dad, and he was like, cause I was at their house. It was Thanksgiving, so I was at their house, and I was like stressed out on the phone with you guys. Remember when the safety dropped out? He's like, oh, you have to like coordinate a team and stuff, cause he's like, he doesn't know anything about surfing, but he's like super into football and sports, and he was just blown away that we like. I'm like, he's like, how many people are you like working with and organizing? I'm like, 8 or more, maybe 10, like filmers, safety, you guys, not, but like, it's like a full
10-man crew for
like,
sure.
And it's a last minute thing too, because the swell pops up. We're like, are we going to Maui tonight, or are we staying here?
Yeah, if we went there, we have to organize safety teams there.
Yeah.
If we
Yeah.
stay here, we got to have them here. Like,
And
it's jet skis, so like
And it's Thanksgiving.
exactly.
Where people are just trying to have time with their families, and I'm just calling them. I'm just like, oh.
That was
Backs
definitely a trippy one. But what we ended up doing, and this is maybe like the most prepared we've been. Like usually, our program would be like, oh, we'll just have one guy, one of the lifeguards if it's his day off, or someone who knows how to drive a ski, someone we trust on that ski rescuing us. Well, most times we kind of just had one guy watching us on a jet ski, if not just one of us taking turns. So we'd go out there on our skis, and if I'm with Eli, he'd jump in the water and surf for an hour, and then I would watch over him and do rescues on him. And we all have gotten pretty good at rescues and driving jet skis and big surf just from growing up here and doing it and rescuing each other. You know, you put a lot of pressure if it's your best friend in the impact zone and vice versa. Mm-hmm. So you just get good quick. So people you trust on the skis. And this time we were like, hey, we want to be a bit more organized. So Eli helped organize. We had a ski with a driver and a filmer on the back. Brent Bielman was filming from the water. Then we had another ski hired with a driver and a grabber. And so a grabber would be someone who sits on the sled. And that way, during a rescue, say someone's unconscious and the jet ski comes in. If it's just a driver, he can maybe reach down and grab you while driving. But if you're unconscious and he misses you, a lot of times it gets into the situation. He's like, do I jump off and bail the ski right now to grab this guy? Or do I circle back around and risk losing him? Mm-hmm. And so having a grabber is super important, because that driver, all he has to focus on is getting as close as he can to the guy that needs a rescue. Mm-hmm. And the grabber, his job is just to get that guy on the ski. And so ideally, the best safety setup would be driver and grabber. And we had that set up on a ski, and then another jet ski hired with just a driver as a backup for those guys. Mm-hmm. So all in all, we had a ski with a driver who was a lifeguard, and he was driving a filmer, Brent Bielman. Then another ski with a lifeguard and a grabber, and then a backup to those guys. So we were like prepared for carnage. Mm-hmm. Shows like our mindset too going into like things now is like, we want to push the limits, and if it's big and heavy, and like we just like have guys standing by for something bad to happen, which it easily can, because we're in a mindset to go like push super hard on these big swells. And so this day I felt like, oh, we're in like a really good place to do that, because we have fucking 3 skis, and like guys are ready. Like okay, you guys get ready. Here comes the set. Like, I'm gonna go.
I swear, sometimes I'd kind of look over in the channel. I'm like, okay, lifeguard. I'm like, yeah, I'm going huge.
Yeah,
on this
they're
one.
watching.
I'm
They're
just like,
watching. I'm
You're like,
okay.
oh, Brent's in the spot. Too.
Yeah. Bro, he missed my wife out from the water. I was
really?
so bummed. They just punched over the wave before, and then he said he filmed me just
Damn
free
it.
falling. Like he
That
got the tail end, and I was
that
like,
would've looked
dang,
sick.
because the top to bottom water angle would have been pretty insane. Because drone like makes it look so much smaller.
Yes, it does. And we're paying these guys, right? So it's like I see that. Oh, what? Like, are these guys just doing it because they want to be out there? Like, no, we're making it worth their time. They're out there all day, and so we're paying them, and it's sometimes up to like $700 to $1,000 a day, depending on the setup.
$1,200 a day.
It's it gets definitely pricey, and for us, it's like. Are you going to put a price on someone pulling you out of a bad situation? Not really. It's worth every dollar.
There's
for
no
what we're
price you
doing.
can put on like
No.
safety like that.
Yeah.
No.
But that's one thing that's changed too, and probably why we do it more is we kind of all have more money as
Yeah.
well. Like as before, I'd be like, oh, John, did you hire safety?
Oh,
Yeah,
I used to
that
squeeze,
that
bro.
price
Yeah.
point was a
Oh,
lot
no.
steeper.
Yeah.
Like we were like, fuck,
Yeah.
that's a big budget hit.
But now we can be like, yeah, we want 4 guys out there. Let's find them and pay them well. You
So
know?
much
This
better.
is very true.
Which is like, I guess something you really need to be a legit like big wave surfer, because you don't want to pal out there with nothing, no safety.
That's a
backup, nothing.
huge cause of not drama, but just of annoyance among a lot of guys, because guys do just go out
Yeah.
with nothing, and they're going out there with nothing, with the kind of like, hey, pick me up if I go down, to like a guy we hired.
Yeah.
And so that's like can be, I mean, unless that dude just like, hey, says to those guys like, hey, focus on your guys, don't worry about me. I know I paddled out here knowing I probably wouldn't have a rescue, so I'm prepared to like go to the beach.
Yeah.
But you still put someone in that position like, fuck, am I really not gonna grab this guy? He's taking 20 footers on the head. Like, I have the ski. But then he goes in to grab him, and then the guy he's paid to watch goes down. Like, so it puts like, you really like, you want everyone to be on the same page with their own hired safety in order for it to all like work, and you don't even want one guy watching too many guys because of that same situation. So
Yeah, you can't. It's almost like one jet ski per surfer, I would say you want, because there's not just one wave in a set.
yeah,
And like, we could all get conside or all go on in the same set, and you only got one driver for all 3 of us, and we all go down. Like that's why we have multiple. And I think we would have hired probably more if we could have found more people to drive.
We're trying to get a boat to throw Jack on.
Yeah,
or
we're trying to
somebody.
get everything we could, but that's all like, that was the bare minimum we could get away with, honestly, with the night before.
last minute notice.
Thanks.
Trying to get all
Thanksgiving.
this- Yeah.
That's actually something I wanted to touch base on, was people from different areas flying in. Like, we kind of want to encourage them to try and reach out to local guys and hire water safety, because I've heard a lot of the water safety guys get really bummed on that exact thing.
Yep.
Because like they feel kind of obligated to rescue someone, especially if they're in a bad position, but they're like, hey, I'm hired by this guy to watch over him. And it's like, am I going to turn my back on one of my guys to try and save this guy who paddled out with no game plan, not prepared? It's kind of like, it's kind of selfish to show up and just expect to be looked after when it's
Definitely to
super
expect
serious.
Yeah.
And it kind of just puts everyone in a bad position. Like,
Yeah. Typically, the guys that don't go out and try to hire safety or like reach out to anyone are probably the guys that really shouldn't even be out there in the first place.
Typically, yep.
Was what I've noticed, like everywhere. Like even if we're somewhere else in the world, like I'll just be trying to get a hold of safety if we're gonna go out to big waves, you know. And when people don't go to that length or extent to like figure anything out, it just kind of goes to show like, oh, they're maybe new to it, or they just have no idea what they're doing.
Like
They're just
we've-
like, I'm gonna go out and be a big wave surfer.
flown to Mavericks multiple times, and we just played the network game and we figured it out. Sometimes it
Got our
was kind
boat,
of,
asked the safety dude, and sometimes he was like, so like some places are different. Like Mavs, like they have like a few guys that are out on every swell, right? Like Mavs there's no other big waves in the area, so like everyone knows when a swell's happening, and there they have a little bit. I swear, there's like 3 or 4 guys that go out every single swell, and they watch everyone, but they also like I think everyone pitches in a little bit to pay them, right? It's almost like a little association. I found the same thing was in Ireland. Like there's like a safety rescue club that was created, and it's like a group of guys, and they try to organize to like that group goes out and gets sits and watches whatever's happening as like a main, it's not like necessarily individual hires, but more of like, hey, we're here for the group, and then support them however you can, or their club, which I think is cool too. Like
that is cool.
But those guys are just really cool. Like I was in there in almost that similar situation. Like I surfed and I got rescued by the guys, and I'm like, how do I like give you guys something or pay you? Like, who do I pay? What's the deal with the club? And the guys were like, just like, dude, like no worries, you're all good. Like our club is taking care of whatever's happening. But so I was like, I need to like get these guys something. So now we're trying to send them like the pontoons for their skis and hook them up with that gear. Yeah, make it more safe. Sick. Like just support in ways like if they say no to cash and you're like, fuck, this dude just like rescued me. Like I want to thank you and like pay you for your efforts. Yeah, there's like other ways to do it.
They'll probably be so stoked on those colors.
Yeah,
they'll love that. Do they have that there?
No.
We're talking about the inflatable things that go around the jet skis now, so it kind of makes them like. They're almost like little bumper cars.
Full bumper cars that can bump into each other or come up next to a boat without like slamming and breaking holes. And I mean, you could still get hit by the hole, but a little bit safer as far as someone popping up and a ski like coming at them. And just it creates enough space along the side of the gunnel that you could like pull a body on way easier than
without tipping over.
Yeah, without tipping and that body being half out if they're unconscious or things like that. So
all those new skis went more horsepower, lighter bodies. So they're like my ski is so tippy, and then I was like, I have to get a collar.
Oh, so your ski is what you're saying, lighter what is it? Lighter body, Yamaha, more like, horsepower?
Yeah. So I think it's a 22, maybe 23. They went more horsepower, lighter bodies. So they're like, jet skis are like, they're not meant for the shit we put them through.
Yeah.
They're meant for like lakes and Miami, and people like, they want speakers, they want speed, they want flashy colors, but like they don't make them like they used to.
Yeah.
Like if you push your knuckles on the back of my new ski, I can flex the whole thing.
Really?
And I'm like, and I'm like, if I beach this thing and just hit a rock, fucking toast.
Wow, that's crazy.
So, they're saying more horsepower, lighter bodies. They're like all electrical. It's just like way more things can go wrong. And but I just went fishing and I was like, whoa, this thing's so tippy. And then I tried to open it up a little bit to like kind of like pretend like I was doing rescues. And I was like, this thing is tippy.
Wow.
And then I threw on the collar and leaning on that thing, and I'm like, it's going to be really hard to flip now. So I think the boys will be stoked on those.
Yeah, I hope so.
The Yamaha I have, I don't remember what year it is, but it's pretty old now. But it is so stable without the collar even. Yeah. It's like wide, way different looking than yours though. So they must have just really changed them. Huh?
They changed a lot. Yeah.
Try to lighten up the body.
I still have my old one, and I like it way more, but it just fails on me every time. So
jet skis are such a pain in the ass. They never work. Like you get them brand new and then they're super sick for a little bit and then everything just starts corroding and failing, and it's just you go to start it like say first season or first swell of the season starts up here. You go to start your jet ski, it's like I'd say probably a 70% chance
Such
it's
a nightmare.
Gonna start.
I'm way more surprised if it starts than if it doesn't.
Shocked.
If it starts, I'm like, oh my God, it started.
It's such a nightmare.
That's like, I guess, where we could be a little bit more professional. And if you run your ski and flush it or take it out constantly, they want to be ran. But it's hard. Like we're surfing Rockies, and I'm like, I don't want to deal with the ski.
Yeah, like
DLNR's
cracking down
dead,
the spark plugs are done. You need 5 licenses to operate it.
Oh yeah, you need licenses now.
There's all kinds of
that class we took.
I didn't take it.
Oh my gosh.
I wasn't
You would've-
there.
if you were there, we might have not made it through this class because
Bro.
we were already doing me and I looking at each other and going,
Bro, it would be
dying. Bro.
it would be crickets and super serious, and I would just look at Nate. It brought me back to high school. Just like when you're trying so hard not to laugh, and your buddy cracks a little bit, and we just start losing it. I'm like, we're gonna get kicked out for sure.
It's too good.
That's so funny. I had.
Yeah, you got.
You can go.
Oh, I was just gonna explain the rest of the day. So we surf probably 3 hours out at
5.
Hemi's. At Hemi's, yeah, we got a bunch of waves, and then we went to check some other spots, and we ended up at Waimea. Waimea was very average, but a lot of like the younger guys, younger generation out. We watched. Ivan was out there. He got a few waves.
Yeah, I haven't got a pretty sick one.
Mr. Cool.
Yep.
Yeah, he had a gnarly drop on one.
Oh, remember the guy? He had one where he took off, and then some guy bailed his board in the face, or he was on the wave before,
Yes.
and he just went
Straight
straight
over.
over his board and had to jump off.
And that's just like
It's like
Yeah.
Waimea, right there. That's,
We-
explains Waimea.
that is
better.
100%. It was just
Yeah.
like we were like,
That's why we don't surf there.
This is what's
unless
going on
unless
here.
the eddy's on.
The
Yeah.
crowd is the most dangerous thing about the wave.
totally.
But it's
people-
such a sick wave. It would
It's
be
so
so fun to surf if there was just no one out.
It's crazy.
I think what's like people who don't know Waimea, it's like can be the steepest, gnarliest slab ever, giant, and then just over a tiny bit on the channel, it just shrinks so drastically that guys are like chipping in on 10 footers, but like back a little bit, it's like a 25-foot gnarly
Yes.
wave. But so they feel like they're like, I'm catching these giant
Yeah.
waves, but I'm like, I don't know. Like you're
They're
not,
like, I'm
you don't want to
Nathan
like,
Florence. I've been watching his slab tour.
but it's dangerous though because they're shoulder hopping and we're trying to like almost pack some these days. And
I mean, you could get
and,
barreled out there for sure.
You
if
really could.
the crowd wasn't doing what it does.
If it was a wave like Jaws where one person goes on a wave,
Yeah.
like
You
every
could
surf
get-
spot,
You could get barreled.
besides Waimea.
yeah, if they run
and
the Eddy
Alabama.
this year, I'm gonna have to just scream early.
Yeah.
and just
Waimea is just
go
like
for it.
it's the whole place is though is like the way it's served we may not agree with, but the place itself, the valley with everything leading up, and like the way the offshore cranks out of that valley, the river, and then the wave there could not be a better place for an event like the Eddy.
No,
Oh,
there's
It's a straight up arena.
yeah. There's no wave like it. Yeah, it's an arena, like a
Straight
football
gladiator
stadium.
arena.
Yeah.
When they ran, I remember the road was like overflowing with people. Remember, there's only one lane.
Yeah.
And the ground was vibrating from people cheering.
That's crazy.
And I was like, am I dreaming? Like running out for my first heat ever, like ground vibrating. And there's like, I don't know how many people, 20,000 around
no,
the
there
bay.
was like 100,000
it was insane.
people.
Dude.
I saw it on the news or something. It was like 80 to 100,000 or something showed up
That is
at
insane.
Waimea Bay.
Crazy.
I remember just feeling the ground shake. And I was like, I am going on anything that comes in.
Everyone was sending it that day.
So-
and on top of that, it was the biggest like Waimea I've ever seen.
I've never seen it bigger.
27 at 21.
Yeah.
I have a,
27
here, I'll pull it up.
feet,
I have it saved.
That's so
Because
crazy.
that's what was so psycho.
You've had some experience at Waimea. I remember. I mean, did we tell this? Did you ever tell the story on here of the whole rebar
No,
thing?
we didn't.
You should tell that story right now. Like, so
Yeah.
basically, Waimea is a big valley, and it's the road cuts right below the cliffs of the valley, and multiple times it happened. What was that? Earlier this year, the rocks fell again.
Oh yeah, that was so
They
crazy.
closed the road for it, or one laned it. It must have been this year. I
Oh
think.
yeah, it broke through the fence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They put a fence up now, and it's just boulders
It
on
didn't
it.
do shit.
Yeah,
27.6 at 19 west northwest.
that is crazy. Screenshot it, and we'll put it up on the screen. That's so nuts,
Yeah,
That is
dude.
send that to you,
giant.
Jack.
So there was this one year that the rocks slid in, literally covered the road with giant boulders, and someone actually, I think, someone crashed into the boulders. Like
That close, I think.
someone like came around the corner and didn't know, and they
Was it?
I think so.
crashed into the boulders because it's a turn straight into them. Anyway, it was such a big pile of boulders that the state closed the main road, and then they built this temporary road across the beach at Waimea, like real sketchy. There's a river you guys have seen probably 100 times, Jamie's river videos, that same river. They built this cement road that was supposed to be temporary across the river. Whatever, they cleared these rocks over a huge length of time. It was like a full winter that the road was across there, or a few months. And in the end, they like cleaned some of it up, but they left a ton of this old cement and rebar under the
Yeah, all
sand.
broken.
Up, crunched up, and just kind of went, oh, like it's buried.
I
Like
think some waves washed over too.
out of
so-
sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
And I'll let you take it from here. One dark day.
So, anyways, we were surfing pinballs.
We were surfing, yeah.
We were like
You mean Kieran.
teenagers. Yeah. And we're like, oh, the river's breaking. Let's go in. And so we drop our guns off and we just like borrow some boogie boards or something.
Yeah.
And we're jumping in, having just the best time, like just another day. And I remember we did it for like hours. And
We were having a hell time. Like when the river breaks, for those of you that haven't seen it, it creates a stationary wave. Like
Yeah.
cuts through the sand, stationary wave. So it's digging sand out as it flows through the big berm.
Getting
But
deeper
it
and
makes
wider.
like a stationary wave. And so like we're like jumping in and body surfing for a little bit, then getting sucked out really fast, coming back around, bodyboarding or surfing or whatever.
we must have done 200 laps.
Yep.
And we're like starving. And I remember you guys being like, let's go get food. And I'm like, what? Okay, one more. I literally said one more. Jump on this wave. I don't even remember if I was on someone's board or a boogie board, but I'm riding for a while, fall, just start going down the river. I'm like, ooh, it's just another lap. And then I remember just hitting my foot on something and then hitting my leg super hard. And I was like, fuck. And I thought I just got like a super bad dead leg. And I swam to the edge. I remember sitting there with my legs in the water and it's just disgusting brown water.
Yeah.
And
Dirty water.
This water stays
Dirty.
all summer without breaking.
disgusting.
It's
So
like a
like
gross
leptospirosis.
ass
It's
pond.
It's
you guys
nasty.
should throw a clip of like one of Jamie's waves or something.
Yeah.
I'm sure they've seen it.
Yeah. So, anyways, I'm sitting there and I'm just like, thought I just hit a rock or something, and I'm like, wow, that was weird. And somebody, Brian Phillips, just so happened to be off-duty lifeguard, walking up just to say what's up to me. And he's like, "What's up, yeah?" And I'm like, "Yeah, what up?" And he just goes, "Oh fuck!" And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "You're bleeding." And I'm like, I remember looking down, and I'll never forget it. Like, it looked fake. Like from my leg, about this wide, all the way down the river was just dark blood red.
That is so
And I was just
bad.
like,
That
I was
is
like,
scary.
I was like, there's no way that's my leg. And like,
Because
I
when you
looked-
hit it, just felt like a dead leg.
it felt like a rock just thumped my
not
leg.
like you had been cut.
Yeah, I didn't feel the stab at all. And then, so I like look above me, brown water, below me, dark red. And I was like, oh shit. And I rolled over, felt this hole in my trunks, and my fingers just went in this hole in my leg. And I was just like, looked at Brian, I was like, get me out of here. And like, I was in shock. So like,
yeah.
and then Abe Lerner actually happened to be working, I think, that day. And then, so anyways, they call in, make a scene. They come down. We're climbing the berm, and it's like, remember how wide it was? It was
Yeah.
super steep. So we're like walking the berm, and it's just like collapsing. We're not going anywhere. And I'm
Yeah.
like looking out. And I swear, I was like, if you grabbed like a big water bottle and just tipped it over, that amount of blood was pouring out of my leg. And I looked at Abe and I was like, I'm probably going to pass out any second. And he's like, I got you, Boule, I got you. And I was like, okay.
So nice.
And then we walked up, and then I remember you and Kieran being like, oh shit, you good? And I was just like, fuck, I hit something.
when we like you hit and then we saw you get on the quad and like just they took you just shortly to the tower.
Yeah.
We were like, oh shoot. We started walking up and we turned around, like two people hit something at the same time. It wasn't as bad, but like two other guys go, ow. And then they just start yelling at everyone, stop. Like there's something below the water.
Yeah.
We run up. Oh no, Eli is up on the tower. And you're like kind of like leaning. And I just remember like seeing your leg and I was like, it looked like someone had like snipered you. It looked like a hole like maybe that big of just raw, like looked like fucking Foodland steak. Like
Dude.
meat was,
Yeah.
I
It
could
was
see
like
the meat of your
fat
leg.
string.
So
It was
nice.
And
so
it was
gnarly.
a black hole in the middle. Like there was a bunch of meat and then hole. And I was just like,
Yeah.
oh my God, like
So
there's a hole in you, huge hole.
long story short, I
fucked.
hit a concrete pillar that, was it the state or whoever built the fucking road?
Yeah.
Left a concrete pillar with a piece of rusty rebar this far off of it. It hit my foot, put a hole in my foot, and then caught me in my thigh under my ass cheek, stabbed me 6.5 inches deep. And they actually had to heal it like a gunshot wound. They ended up, I had to get 4 surgeries, almost bled to death because I almost hit my femoral artery. It was a millimeter away from hitting that artery, and the doctor just kept telling me, he's like, you have no idea how lucky you are. And I was just like, shut up, I don't even want to hear it. Like, he just kept telling me that.
It would have been a minute.
Yeah,
somebody-
that's your biggest artery in your body.
Yeah, somebody would have had to put their fingers in my leg and pinch it, or I was gonna die before I left the parking lot.
Yeah.
So I was like, that was like one of the closest times I came to dying for sure. And
I
then-
just can't even, like, I think about it sometimes, and I'm like, there's just so many ways of how terrifying that could have been. Like, it was bad, but, like, imagine if you didn't get bounced off. You're pinned on
yeah,
it.
Oh, you got
underwater.
Stuck
Yeah.
in, like, and that's so much meat right there.
was
like,
so
you're just
skinny.
like, help. Like,
I
I'm
was-
underwater, like the river pressure.
God,
Like,
it's
I was
so
I was
gnarly.
18 years old, so skinny. I was like 6.5 inches still for any of us.
anywhere else on your body.
Anywhere else in my body.
Death.
And also the angle,
Yeah.
like, if it went straight, it might have went through my leg, because I don't know how big my leg is, but like 6.5 inches, it was like at that angle. So it just fucking stabbed me, and the next wave lifted me off of it. Because you know how it's like up, down, up,
How,
down?
Yeah.
how long were you like on? Like, did you stay on it for a little bit, or did it?
It
just
felt,
went boom,
It just
like,
felt like it felt
rolled
like
over it.
gnarly impact, and I think it actually stabbed me and ripped a little bit.
Oh, it like bent maybe. Like you went like
Maybe
off of it.
Yeah, but I just remember the next wave like kind of lifted me.
Yeah, because that river is pulling out very hard with a lot of force.
Oh yeah, you're going like
So
fast, and
Yeah.
they ended up. I was in the hospital for 2 weeks on my back. They put a tube in my leg with a sponge that was like cleaning, pumping it, and
But the first where they first took you,
Oh my
where they
gosh,
do
dude.
not forget this part
Bro.
of the story.
So,
It's
while
just disturbing.
Wahiawa Hospital. If you
Hawaii
guys are
has some of
ever
the
in
worst
Hawaii and get
hospitals.
injured, do not go to Wahiawa Hospital.
Or Kahuku. Go,
Kahuku.
Go to the big
Further.
ones.
And if any of you guys work
Way
at
further.
Wahiawa or Kahuku, I do not care. You guys suck. Because I
there
was
might be some good people there, but they're just
the facility
hospitals.
itself, like
yeah, I sat for 6 hours without seeing a doctor, bleeding out. You guys came and brought my clothes.
we came to see him, and we're like, our friend Eli's here. Like, he's in this room back here. We're walking down a hallway with straight up horror movie tinkering,
Yeah.
like lights
How
flickering
gross.
on and off.
And
And
it
I'm
was-
like, Eli's in here.
Bro,
Oh my god!
It was like a bad, scary movie.
Yeah.
lights
Doesn't
flickering.
Wahiawa have like green tile everywhere too?
dude, it looks like a set
Yeah,
of
like
a horror film.
Bro, I
full
swear there
horror
was
movie.
just like rusty beds and shit. I don't know.
Syringes.
It was so rough. And I
Place
sat there
sucks.
and they just pumped me with painkillers. So I was just like, hey, what's up, Nate? I was all fucking spun. And then you guys hung out for a couple hours, bailed, and then a few more hours go by. I haven't seen a doctor. I finally just like lost it. I just start getting out of the bed and my bandage fell off and I'm standing in a pool of blood screaming. I was like, son, fucking do something. And then finally they rushed me into surgery. And I was like,
To Queens,
Fuck.
no.
you did surgery in Wahiawa.
In Wahiawa, get this. I'm already living on my own since like a 16. So like they're like, do you have insurance? I'm like, I think I'm under my parents' one. They're like, do you have anyone to call? And I'm like, my dad was gone working in Africa, and then my mom had moved away when I was 16. So they're like, do you have anyone to call? I was like, not really.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right. So then I get put down, do the surgery. Someone got a hold of my mom, and then she flew out like a day or two later, and I'm still in Wahiawa. She's like, fuck this place. She gets me to get transferred to Kapiolani. They rush me into surgery over there. I wake up from the second surgery. They go, did you just come from the beach? And I'm like, no, I had surgery last night or whatever in Wahiawa. And they're like, there was so much sand and debris in
That
your
is,
cut.
and we told them this is the most
Bro.
disgusting sand and water you could put
By
in
that
a
point,
wound.
my leg was so swollen and changing color. I was like, I'm gonna die from infection
my
now.
God,
it was so bad. So, anyways, 2 weeks. I don't think I surfed for a couple months. I was on crutches, and just like,
I remember coming visiting you
yeah,
in that hospital.
Yeah,
Oh, wait,
and
did
the
I
nicer
see you
one.
in Wahoo? Because I wasn't with you guys somehow.
No, you came to Kapilani.
Yeah.
And then like that felt like heaven though from
From the tinkering
Yeah.
lights, darkness.
that was rough.
Deadly Wahoo.
It was seriously like just a horror film.
Like the start of the zombie apocalypse
It's
could
so
be
bad.
in Wahiwa.
I don't understand
Anyways.
how things can get so bad.
How much
In
time?
America.
Yeah. How much time did you spend in total in the hospitals? From when you got hurt, it was like
2 weeks.
2 full weeks.
2 full weeks on my back. They're pumping me with fentanyl. I didn't know, but like, I remember because I forgot the name. But they're like, this is stronger than.
Yeah.
What's it called? What's the super strong one?
Morphine.
They're like, this is stronger than morphine.
Yeah.
And then later I found out, I was like, they're giving me fentanyl. I was actually like spun trying to eat pills and shit for a little after. Like, it was
High
dark.
dose fentanyl
That-
for 2 weeks straight, and you're like, wait,
And then
what?
so
What happened?
18 years old, like 120 pounds. They're like, here's a bottle of oxys when you walk out. I'm like, okay. Like, it's so fucking radical. But anyways, that was a crazy chapter. Wasn't my time yet.
No. So he's bled
And now
for
you're
White Man.
here.
Now I'm here. I've had a
Blood,
crazy,
sweat, and tears for White Man.
yeah, crazy connection with that place.
So heavy. So
But,
fucked up.
Yeah, that was radical.
I'm glad you're okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And so, yeah, we sidetracked there because that was just a great story. But with the swell bender continued, we surfed that outer reef day, and the next day's pipe was going off, and
The most crowded pipe
yeah,
maybe ever. Oh wait, I have a good story from the outer reef day.
yeah,
The wave I caught one of the waves, not the one I pulled in on, but I got lipped on my back. I think you were on the wave right before it.
yep.
And I got lipped on my back and thrown forward, and I hit the water so hard on my chest that I 3 of my canisters, like our full
forgot.
vest canisters, pulled right away. I
Didn't
almost
even
got
have
the
to.
4th one too, because
Yeah.
they're all
The
off.
impact alone just
it-
blew the little things off him.
And I was sliding and inflating, and then I started skipping, so I couldn't go under. My vest was maxed.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
weren't
as
under yet.
Possible. And
One is your.
yeah, one fills it
So
up, and then
3 would have been.
3, and then it just started releasing. Because then
Yeah.
I remember, you know how it gets cold
Yeah,
when it releases,
and you can smell it.
Yeah, but I was underwater, so I wasn't smelling it. But after that, something had happened to the pressure valve, and so I skip, go down, and the pressure of the wave squeezed all the air out of my vest. So I was underwater with no more air left in my vest going down, when it just was complete
Jeez.
opposite.
You went to the
Like
extremes.
Like the vest is like, I'm going out on my own, and you're like, no, you don't know when to go, and just
It broke that vest. But that
Was that a Patagonia?
No, it was my Quicksilver one.
Oh, okay.
I had 2. Like that one
pee real quick.
was the vest I should have been using because I ruined it before, and I grabbed the wrong one and threw it on, just like, oh yeah, whatever. And then that happened. I was just like, oh god, here we go. It was my first wave too.
Yeah.
Just right away, just went
That was when I was.
balloon.
That was when I was replacing my board.
Oh yeah.
I was like getting to the shore break with Jack guys, and then Jack's like, "Go and Nate just went back to back on bombs," and I was just like skitzing, waxing up another
Yeah.
board. I was like, "I gotta get out there." We were just panicking.
It's too bad that the peak of that swell only lasted like, I'd say 2 hours for us. Because if the buoys that hit at night that destroyed my house,
Do you have footage of that?
I do have some.
Throw it in there.
Yeah.
It was so
It was-
big.
Dude, I live one house from the beach, and waves in the middle of the night when the biggest buoys were hitting were washing through. Pizel lives on the beach in front of me, washing coral through the houses, and it ended up exploding the water pipes. So we had no water for like a day and a half or something.
After the surf
I
bender,
I
you were
left
like-
the house. I woke up in the morning. I was like, trying to use the water. I'm like, something's wrong. I'm like, I'm just gonna go. Like, fuck it. And then they just had to shut the water off completely,
Dude.
or the ocean did actually.
We're saying like how big it was overnight when the swell actually peaked.
I wish it peaked in
I-
the day.
If
Oh
that
my
peaked
gosh.
midday, it would have. I think it would have been like the day me and John got from Maps of Home.
We would have been
Because
on.
I don't think the buoys were as big that day as they were at the numbers it was reading in the middle of the night
Oh, really?
for this one. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can't remember, but the Eddy at where I live, 3 Tables, I have never seen the waves go. I've seen it go up the beach across the grass, but I've never seen it go over that concrete pillar across the road and then to the start of my road.
Which it did on this recent one.
Yeah, at night, because I was pulling out at like 5 something, like pitch black, and I just see sand, foam, and like all like the twigs and debris
Yep.
from the beach, and I was just like, oh my gosh! I was like, we're gonna set a record today.
Yeah.
I was just revving.
At some point in that night, it was as big as it's been in a very long time. Because that
Yeah.
was like some of the most damage or most sand on the road and damage to some of the certain areas of houses that, like, even like Dave Wassel's video he posted from the
In the
Rock
tower.
Piles Tower. Like, this tower is like whatever, 10 feet high up on a hill. And there's like this little like table for them. So, because they're sitting up on high stools to oversee everything while they're watching. And so inside that tower that's already high, there's like a high bar thing, and that had sand on it.
Yeah.
Like
That
covered
was-
in sand, as if not like the sand like gotten tossed on there, like sand like it had been water
A
in
wave
there.
washed
Yeah.
up into it,
Yeah.
which is like
Crazy.
it's crazy.
For it to have been that high, like
That is a huge wave.
such a powerful surge to have done that.
and the reef structure usually helps break it up a little bit too.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that-
Rockies too, where I live, it's supposed to be like pretty protected
Yeah,
there.
Isn't
true.
that strange? Rockies and Keiki, where there's like the most rocks, both get hit the hardest on the biggest swells.
But Rockies is
Just like the
usually
magnet.
small by the time
Yeah.
it gets in there. You know, like in comparison to everywhere else.
Yeah.
It's because there's so many reefs. Like
Yeah.
directly out is like that outer
Just
reef.
outer
and
is
then-
all the way for it to
Where-
lose its energy, but it surges.
Dude, it was crazy. Pizel was cleaning up. Him and his wife were cleaning up all day.
Yeah.
jeez,
Because they're
that
in the
was
house right in front of
huge.
me. And everything. They have like, oh, get this. So I've been throwing my trash away in the public trash can because it's right next to my house. Because I don't have
out there with your bag.
yeah, just toss it, which like it's
Go
not.
as a personal trash man.
Yeah.
He's like, I say it up to him all the time.
Yo, I got another bag.
So I'm like, I know, I'm like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this, but whatever. I don't have a trash can. I haven't gone to Ace to go get a new one.
Yeah.
Because it got stolen. Like, whatever. Anyway, that night, I threw a bunch of trash away. And I wake up in the morning, and those 2 trash cans ripped off the thing they were chained to and ended up in my yard against my cars with all the trash in it. Everywhere. And the
crazy.
first thing I see when I
gosh.
walk out is the bag of trash I threw away, wedged up against my fence. I was just like,
Back home.
You're like,
ironic, huh?
Came
Back
back.
home.
You know, you're doing something like, oh, I probably shouldn't do this. But
Yeah.
Like,
And
whatever.
it
And
came
it was
back.
just like karma, I guess.
Mother Nature.
It was pretty wild. Super wild.
Are we continuing on to pipe swell bender?
Yeah. So we went on to, it went straight into like pipe multiple days and then a small break and then pipe again. But during that small break, I feel like the Hemis day and maybe the day after was pretty much the last days here on North Shore before like the circus shows up.
Like the big swell was the last day.
The big show is the last day.
Yeah.
And then you just see it like we had a small break. Boom, this pipe swell comes a few days later that we could all see from a mile away. Just here it comes marching in. Pipe's going to be good. Just one of the most chaotic, packed pipe days ever. And just on the North Shore in general.
Yep.
Every bike path, you see crews following bikers on the bike path, getting their bike path shot. You see camera crews from every brand. Like at one point, one day, I swear it was you were on a shoot, and I had a shoot. And we were all just texting each other laughing like, oh my God, we're all on shoots on the same day right now.
All
on
doing
North
the
Shore.
same stuff.
Same stuff we did last year.
For way different brands.
Yeah. But pipe was
crazy.
just it was pumping, but it was just super heavy. Like, and I surfed real early, and then I had to go do a shoot. But the pack and the intensity, and everyone was so hungry. And people are here for the Pipe Masters, the Vans event. So there's like this whole group of people here for that. There's all the locals. There's the just regular, bizarre stragglers that you see out there. And then there's the CT guys. So there's like a very concentrated very chaotic crowd.
Let's talk about the stragglers and how irritating they are.
The guys like you look like I looked over at one point and there was this guy on like a pink 7.5 in a full suit, and he had just paddled for a wave and not gone, and Tai Chi hadn't gone because this guy had paddled. Mm-hmm. Nobody went. It was a firing pipe wave. And the guy said, "What are you doing?" And he goes like this. I said, what are you doing? And he's like, I said, look where you're sitting. And
Do you speak English?
Yeah. He goes, do you want me to move? I was like, go back over there. He just like, okay. And he like, he just turned and paddled. Like the way he was so like subservient, I almost like felt a little guilty, but I wasn't even like,
You were saving him.
He was lucky it was me saying it and not someone like far more ruthless. Yeah, like may have been like
I gave a guy a warning too
in his face, like, and he just went like okay, and he just paddled to the side. But I'm like,
that guy's like, why is no one telling me to go in yet?
He's looking around and it's like John, Jamie, Flynn, Mikey Bruno, us. And he's in his full suit on his pink 7.5 going like, yeah, this is where I belong. These
right
are the guys I
he's
belong.
He's like, sit right next to Jamie.
He's like, I'm probably in a good area right here. He's like, these are the main guys.
Just classic, man. But like, it's like guys like that, you know, that like they're all of a sudden they're in a situation because they can't read the lineup like we can where hey, all of a sudden I'm like inside because I didn't see that this big west set. I didn't see the indicators or the way the ocean was moving. Now I'm like in a weird position where I'm in someone's way, or like someone changes their line because of me, or I have to paddle this way. That guy paddling for the wave moves. Like it just gets like causes, that place is already full of anxiety and dangerous. The danger level just to like, I mean, that day, look what happens. Like one of the best surfers in the world right now, young, fit, athletic, Joao Chianca, like, has a near-death experience.
Dude,
I think
it was close.
He breathing, or did he have a pulse when he got to the beach?
He had a pulse,
because
but
they did compressions for a second.
He was purple, eyes open, just soulless. Yeah, like he, at that point when I was holding him, like I couldn't feel his pulse because I wasn't focusing on that, but he was eyes open and purple, like gray skin,
he was
purple lip, like
so
just
scary,
blank stare, and I was just like, kind of like not confident at all, but I was just like, okay, like we have to just focus here, and like I swear, being in those situations multiple times already, I was just like, I seen a couple kids like panicking and like having meltdowns, and I was just like, I wanted to just be like, this is not the time to be fucking emotional.
Or
like,
the place to even like be in the way.
Yeah, like I was trying to just focus.
Especially like when the lifeguards are there, I was just like, just making sure people didn't get close, because there was like, you were there the whole time and you had his head, his neck, and there was like 5 lifeguards who are trained to do what they do, and there were people like trying to come up and like ask them questions, like while they're fucking.
That is so crazy,
just like,
dude. Yeah.
What the fuck are you thinking?
Like, just stand back and let them do their work.
Something that was blowing my mind was there's a couple times where I was just focusing, like especially when Luke was doing compressions and I was just holding his head, and every compression water and foam was coming out of his mouth, and I was just like, fuck, he's got a lot of water, but he wasn't breathing still at that point. And then he started puking, and I'm like, okay, let's turn him a little. We started turning him, just trying to keep his neck as straight as possible, because you don't know if he head-butted the reef, broke his neck. So like that's how we were taught, is always approach as if it's a
broken
neck injury.
Yeah.
Because that's the most important. And he starts breathing, but he was still just eyes open, just
blank.
Nothing. His eyes, like, we were like talking to him, and one of the lifeguards, GT, I think, was speaking Portuguese, and but he just had this blank, eyes open stare for a while, but he started breathing, and his breathing actually went really like almost hyperventilation at first, and I was like, whoa.
Trying to get air in.
Yeah, I was like, this is scary. And then it started toning down and getting
so crazy.
more regular, and then his color started coming back, and I was like, okay, this is a good sign. I started feeling a little bit of relief, but he still just hadn't responded. So I was just like, fuck, I don't know how long he was under for.
Yeah.
You don't know if he's a vegetable, because 4 to 6 minutes, the brain without oxygen is brain damage.
It's a long time.
So he must have been getting on close to 2. 7, 8
yeah,
waves.
it's very close.
Maybe a
very
minute.
close to that because I was on the beach and I just walked down the beach and I didn't even see any of it happen. I just like started hearing whistles. I was like, what the fuck's that? And then all of a sudden I saw a Vulcan board tombstoning, but way on the inside. I was like, oh, fuck. So by that time when I jumped out, there's already a couple guys that were already on him. And luckily somehow where he fell brought him pretty close to shore, like right in front of the Vulcan house almost. And
Because that surge, that whole swell was so gnarly. Like,
yep.
I got sucked straight over the falls on a 10-footer trying to duck dive. Broke my board. I was just having a shocker. Didn't get a wave before that. I was so pissed. And then as I'm getting smoked almost to the shore break, I hear whistles and I'm like, fuck, someone just got a sick one. And then the whistles just didn't stop.
Keep going.
And I instantly just knew. I was like, that can only mean one thing. When the whistles are super like, you can just, like, we've been in these situations so many times.
Every house will light up, like
Yeah.
people yelling and whistling from every house nonstop.
You
and
really can feel the energy of like,
Yeah.
like
Something's
good,
gone
like,
wrong,
Oh,
yeah.
sick, like great wave, or like someone's
Yeah.
dying.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. I have
it's a more
fucking-
panic.
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
say
Chicken
like
skin,
sure.
just like
It's like
thinking about
everyone's
it.
whistling as loud as they can. Everyone's screaming like
Yeah.
to make just bring awareness to where he is. So,
So-
yeah, you can totally feel the difference.
I was almost to the shore break at that point, and I think it happened to be the same set that he was already under for. So then I got smoked to the beach, peeled my leash. I just left my tail and fins in the shore break and just sprinted, and then just got there right when the lifeguards were kind of grabbing him. And they were doing an amazing job. I was just kind of backing him up, but then fell into place where it just worked out. Like one of them had to go to grab, I think the defib machine, and I just happened to fall into place to back them up. But that's when nobody realized, because it's just like chaos. Like nobody realized he wasn't breathing yet. And then we're getting him to the end. I'm like, guys, he's not breathing. Compressions, boom. Every pump, foam, water.
yeah. I mean, I was right there too, watching it, just gnarly.
It was fucking nuts. And then I could see a little blood, and I'm like, he's got a cut on his head, but there's no time to like feel around. You're just supporting his neck. But
Was Lucas on the beach?
he came way later. That was one of the first things I said was to one of the Vulcan Groms. I was like, somebody call his brother and let him know,
Yeah.
because I was like, he's gonna be.
He was not in the
tripping.
water.
No, he wasn't even.
He wasn't even at the house.
He wasn't even at the house. He came like right at the end. Luckily,
were the ambulance there yet, or he was just before?
just before, but luckily he came right when he actually showed up right when Joao was getting to the combative state.
Where he was
when
starting to
people
move,
start
huh?
waking up and they're in a brace and they don't know what's going on, and
People are touching them. And
I was holding his head,
Yeah.
and he, like a baby when they grab like a handful of your index finger, he grabbed a handful of index finger and almost snapped the thing in half. Like, I'm like, relax, Joe, relax.
Yeah.
And one of the lifeguards had to peel his hand off my finger. I was like, he's gonna just.
he was
fold
just
this
going
in.
like
he was just.
thought you were on his neck or something.
He just didn't know.
yeah.
Like, it's
Did he?
just-
Was he talking?
He had just
woken
finally.
up,
He
yeah.
just finally. His eyes finally went from this death stare to just like finally kind of like moving.
Focusing, yeah.
Couple blinks.
That's crazy.
And remember Aaron Gold at Fiji? I remember the same thing. He just had that blank stare, and then once he started blinking and looking around, that's when it's like, okay, he's starting to come back a little bit.
That was the craziest thing I've ever seen. When he was all of a sudden just like back to normal life, like jumped up, like, yeah, I'm fine. And then jumped off the boat onto the ski. Remember, like, I was like,
this is very.
Bro, I was
strange.
trying to. Do you
Crazy.
remember me trying to put the neck brace on him, and I didn't know what I was doing, but I just was like, from the little bit of training at that time, I was like, he might have broke his neck. So like, we're trying to put it on, and he literally looks at me after being dead, and he goes, "Get off me," and I was just like, I think I just started bawling. I was just like,
I just don't like they
we
don't.
thought he was gone.
They
bro.
don't know how we had just seen them. Like we a second ago we were looking at a dead body, a dead friend, and then now they're like, "What are you doing?" Like the no idea. Like to them it was a blink, right? Maybe like they're just like, "Hey,
Yeah.
Aaron,
what the
Aaron-
I
hell?"
don't ever want to find out.
I don't.
Aaron, I'm pretty sure he said he remembered everything, and he thought he had passed out, and he thought one of the boys grabbed him and gave him a couple taps on the cheek, and he was
Really?
like, "Whoa, I was out for a second. And we were
Holy
like,
smokes.
"No, bro, you were."
Not the case.
He had like maybe entered the next realm and came back,
Crazy man.
because that was like 10 minutes of resuscitation.
Yeah,
And
that was far longer than like we all had hope, but like it had gone on to some time extent where we were like, Oh my God.
Yeah.
Is this really happening?
That was super
The
gnarly.
human body's tough, dude. But
The
On
human
a
body
more
wants to
positive
survive.
note, we've talked to Lucas a bit, and it sounds like Joao is recovering.
Yeah, super strong, doing good.
Young,
I checked
fit
in.
guy.
He's such a
bouncing
beast.
back.
He'll
Yeah.
be back in the water sooner than we want him to, for sure. I know he's gonna be. He's probably gonna want to surface heat.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be like,
Oh my God.
I'm gonna give him a huge hug and be like, I don't know if it's the best idea, brother, but
That's in coffee, man.
super happy for Joao.
Yeah.
He's such a good dude. Chumbo's one of our boys. Big
Yep.
wave brotherhood. I'm very happy it worked out the way it did.
Yep.
And
Super
it
stoked.
wasn't his time.
he's alive and breathing.
Yes.
It's
Totally.
crazy. Yeah. But I gotta get out of here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Been
on that
watching the
note,
backdoor cam.
Eli's on the cam.
It's not as good as I was thinking,
It's not very good.
which is nice.
Yeah.
You got to do more photo shoots.
Yeah, I'm back on.
Ko's
Last day.
Ko's modeling for Julio's Speedos.
Julio's
he's-
thongs
he's
for men.
banana hammocks for males.
Thinking this is living thongs.
I'm actually selling these photos on OnlyFans. So subscribe there.
Well,
That's it, folks.
that's all we got.
Thank you guys for watching. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. And
Do
yeah,
that.
thanks. We'll see you next week.
See you soon.